welcome into the Tuesday episode, almost a Thursday, the Tuesday waiver wire episode, guys. If you haven't noticed, it's very subtle changes here. But, Bobby, I finally updated the cover, man. Now it finally says 8-7 Central like we actually go live on. So people aren't showing up an hour late to the show. Also, little sleeper tag down on the bottom. We have some friends over at Sleeper now. If you guys are in a state where it is legal to do any placing some wagers over there, then you guys can get up to $100 with your first match deposit. We have a link in the description of this video, or you can go over to our bettergreen.com, our website, and go to Bobby's article. We have a link to that article as well. We're going to go over that article today. First off, Bobby, you are number one in our dynasty. You've only lost one game on the season, and it is all the way up to week 8 now. Fantasy season, regular season is already half over. That's hard to believe. How are you doing, man? I feel like you have a really good read this year.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm usually a Debbie Downer, so I need to be better about, I'm trying to give myself props about things realistically. And yeah, this year, especially in Dynasty, the Dynasty League we're in, it's just been a matter of like the past 2 years of work I've been putting in, just finally kind of seeing that start to come to realization. That's always a satisfying feeling. I basically went through a complete rebuild without even intending to over the past 2, almost 3 years since our startup, ETN and Lamar Jackson are my only original pieces from our startup. Really messed up my startup. If you've been following us for a while, I did things like Judy in the fourth of a startup. Marquise Brown was like my third. So it was bad. It was absolutely terrible. But through trades, smart waiver wire acquisitions, like I got Terry McLaurin off the waiver this week. I mean, not this week, but this season, after like week 2 or 3 when he was putting up stinkers. Like small things like that to just improve my position finally paid off. Looking at some injuries that had me a little questionable. Lost Debo, maybe lost DK, a little cloudy on that. Montgomery's banged up. Jaden Daniels affects McLaurin. But also, made a really good pickup. So lost JMO to suspension. But we're going to talk about all that in this live. We're going to talk about some pivots if you got those guys you can make, things of that nature. But yeah, that. And I'm also proud of myself in our pick'ems. Before last week, I was like 6 or 7 out of 9 on our pick'ems. I shot all the way up to 2 now. So we're in striking distance of number 1. So,
You're having a heck of a year, Bobby. You're having a heck of a year. I passed off a lot of the fantasy content that we do to Bobby, and I'm extremely grateful for that. It gives me time for our show that we do that comes out on Fridays, Tapping Vegas. Gives me extra time for that, extra time to do some other stuff for Better and Green. So I have appreciated it, but I've also been on now the negative end of that. I give him this opportunity to gain all this knowledge and do extra research. Now he's killing the entire league. So, Bobby, you took advantage of it, man. I'm so happy for you. Let's talk about your article that came out. So we're going to be talking about, I'm going to say it again, I can't believe it's already week 8 waiver wires that we're talking about. For us, I believe the fantasy playoffs start week 14? 14,
yeah,
15,
14
16, 17. Yeah, so
Yep.
week 13, or what is that, 5 weeks away. That's insane. As somebody that's sitting right outside the playoffs, that is making me sweat a little bit. I'm running out of time here. Talking about guys that you can't pick up, your number 1 guy here, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, Romeo Doubs. We talked about him a couple weeks ago. Dude he's inconsistent, but once again, this is a waiver wire guy we're talking about. We're not talking about a weekly starter. So while he's inconsistent, this is a guy that we've seen his ceiling and even, his regular, I wouldn't say floor days because he can have some pretty bad ones, but his standard day is pretty decent. So I love that you got Dobbs here. Are you seeing anything maybe that the casual watcher isn't?
My main thing with Doubs is, week 8, it's starting to get a little dry. I said that in the article. And every week that I put this out, I try to do like our 12-team redraft that we're in, you and I. Doubs isn't available. I know that he is in this 8-team dynasty, though. So I'm trying to strike a balance between guys that are available in like your dynasty, like your 8-team leagues, Also give you some guys that are available in your 12-team leagues, things like that. Just try to strike that balance, figure it out, help you get that edge and everything. And, I also only include, like, I pass up a lot of guys if I just genuinely don't believe it's worth a roster spot, even if it is waiver. Like, Fab still has a place if you're doing reverse order based off score. You still have to, optimize that spot. You still have to maximize it. But with Dabbs in particular, what I'm really liking is, I say it in the article, Green Bay's kind of a carousel for receivers. But what's kind of drawn me to Dabbs is Jordan Love has been slinging it almost detrimentally with the league, like leading the league, or at least like second or third in interceptions. But man, he's just a gunslinger. He's constantly throwing it out there. He's constantly tossing touchdowns. I mean, Jacobs just got his like first touchdown. I wouldn't say of the season, I don't think, but at least his first touchdown in a good while. They're not relying on the ground game as much as I thought. It's an aerial attack, high stakes, high points that they're always just going for the fences. Daubs, I like how he's he probably has the best pure hands of all the Green Bay receivers right now. He's not like a Watson who you're just kind of relying on as like a field stretcher, boomer bust guy. Along with the injury concerns that he has, Daubs has also been getting the squeaky wheel treatment since he complained and was suspended for one game for having some issues with Green Bay in the locker room, just disappointed with his role. So I mean, since then, week 6, 18 points against Arizona, 13 against Houston. Houston's got a pretty solid defense with Stingley Jr. and I forget the other corner they have that's pretty good. So for him to go out there and still get 13 points and look to have, a pretty big impact in a high-scoring, high-flying team playing 83% of snaps, wide receiver 9 last week, this week wide receiver 15. I just think all those factors are what make him intriguing. If somebody in like our dynasty league got tired of him and he's available, totally worth a spot, especially with all the injuries that we're going to be talking about, all the, the suspension of JMO, things of that nature, definitely worth a shot.
Absolutely. And I just got to point this out, too. We were talking about it before the show. You posted this yesterday before the Monday night games. Your very next guy is Rashad Bateman. That kind of played out just like you predicted, didn't it?
Yeah, very disappointed because I picked up Bateman Sunday afternoon with the intentions of playing him because I try to keep one roster slot on any league that I'm in. Even if it's Dynasty, it's more difficult because all your bench guys on Dynasty, it's hard to let go of because obviously you think they have a place, if not now, in the future, whether that's near future, far future, whatever. But I had a slot that I was turning out. I picked up Pierce, thinking with A. Richardson back, he would go back to that Texans role where he could at least catch some bombs. Didn't work out how I wanted. Richardson barely threw. When he did, it was just mass incompletions. Barely won that game, mainly due to the Dolphins' incompetence. So took him off the roster, put in Bateman. I've been a Bateman guy for years. Since he was a rookie, I really like Bateman. He's like, honestly, probably one of my favorite real-life players. So I'm going to say a lot of good things about Bateman. And, I might get laughed at, but hey, who cares? This is my opinion. And, hey, it turned out pretty well last night. We'll see what the future holds. We'll get into that. But what I like about Bateman is last night, Zay Flowers got injured. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I wish I had that juju and that power, but I didn't manifest that. I'm not Israel Adesanya. But Flowers is injured. Very unclear what's going on. Very tight-lipped right now. Don't know the extent. Don't know if it's a long-term, short-term. Just very hush-hush. But what I like about Bateman is, they're going to be – I know Baltimore has this, stereotype as a run-first team, especially with Derrick Henry now. But I think Baltimore, especially in their next few matchups, at least this week against Cleveland, I personally feel like Myles Garrett has a better chance as the genetic freak he is of stopping Derrick Henry or Lamar than he does Rashad Bateman. He's not a corner. He's not a DB or whatever, He's not going to be shadowing the receiving group, things of that nature. So with Zay Flowers being banged up and maybe they're a little hesitant to play him, I think there's going to be more targets for Bateman. Mark Andrews, I think we're finally starting to see Mark Andrews come back like I said he would.
Finally.
I know we were Chicken Little. Some people were, not us, but some people were Chicken Little about him, dropping them, selling them for peanuts.
It's crazy,
We've been,
dude.
we've been telling you for weeks, the circumstances why he was not performing, injuries, car crash, all that. We told you he was going to be fine as the season went on. I think he's definitely getting there. Likely still has a row, don't get me wrong. So you could even still play likely people.
Crazy.
And just throwing out of his mind. The offense is definitely still a passing offense. Yes, Derrick Henry's there. Yes, Lamar can scramble and run himself. But I think we're going to see Bateman become what we thought Bateman would be, 3 years ago when he came in the league. Like, people forget, Bateman's just had the worst luck. He was a first-round pick in his draft class, highly touted, and this is where people are going to laugh, but his comp coming out of college was Reggie Wayne. And I know that seems insane considering what he's been up until this season. And even then, he's still, is he boom or bust? Does he have a role? I think he finally has a role. I think he's finally a year 3 breakout candidate, and it's kind of coming out of nowhere. But guess who came out last year with their year 3 breakout, who nobody thought? Everybody left him for dead, Nico Collins. So I think Bateman definitely has a role on this team. And plus, he had some concerns with drops last year. He was off to a hot start in 2022, did really well, was burning like Xavier Howard in the Dolphins game. That was kind of a breakout. Had a Liz Frank, missed a lot of time. Last year, he was still coming back from that Liz Frank. You could tell he wasn't 100%, but now he finally seems to be 100% past that. He was struggling with a lot of mental adversity issues, like his grandma passed away, very close to her, things of that nature. I think his head's right. I think his mental space is good. I think his physical health's good. And especially if Flowers is going to miss some time. I mean, Lamar's throwing the ball, and I think this is what they want Bateman to be. Last year, he struggled with some drops when he did get the ball. This year, they put him in some clutch situations, especially last night. He's delivered on the touchdown. He's delivered on the, 56-yard reception it was to set up the touchdown. I think it was to Justice Hill. Yeah. So he's delivering. His snaps, highest snaps since week 2 last night, 76%. Before that, he was bouncing around between 62 to 69. Week 1 and 2, 84 and 82. So highest snaps since week 1 and 2. Wide receiver 2 on the whole week, 121 yards, 1 touchdown. I think Bateman finally, he has the most chemistry with Lamar. He's known Lamar the longest. He knows the system. He knows the coaching. He knows the coordinator. Been with the team his whole career. They have the trust in him that they signed him in the offseason, even after his terrible year last year. They still had faith in him, signed him to, I think, a 2 or 3 year contract. He's going to get the ball. And I think this is finally – I said in the article I didn't think it was going to be his breakout because I wasn't that optimistic. But, man, I'm reevaluating that now. So, thankfully, I'm reevaluating it. I have him in my league, like I said, Sunday afternoon. I just had a feeling – thankfully, it came true, and I'm definitely going to need them now with J-Mo suspended, Debo, DK, all that fun stuff. And so, yeah, people who are like, oh, they're just going to run the ball. They're playing Cleveland next week. Cleveland's 27th against the pass. I think they have a far better chance at stopping the run, stopping Henry. I think they're going to air out the ball. I think it's going to be it's not necessarily going to be a shootout because whether it's DTR or Jameson Winston starting between those two, it's not really going to be a shootout, but Lamar's just going to pound the rock. He's going to try to get another 40-plus point game, I feel like. And I think Bateman he's a focal point of that offense now. And I really hope, not only from a fantasy standpoint, but a personal standpoint, this really is a breakout for Bateman because, as a human being, there's few guys in the NFL that kind of deserve it more with all that he's had to overcome in a short career.
Very well said. Very well said. There's some of the stuff that you said I didn't know about Bateman, so I'm really glad you added that. This last guy, though, is my personal favorite, obviously, because he's a Chief. This is Mecole Hardman. It's hard to argue with you here, man. Mecole, I'm glad that we brought him back when he went to the Jets. I was pretty bummed about that because I was like, man, we lost Tyreek and we lost Mecole, but getting Mecole back has been great. He looked really good last week against the 49ers defense. What are you seeing else about Mecole that makes you want to take a chance on him when we know the Chiefs spread the ball around so much?
Just so banged up, man. They're losing guys to spread the ball out too at this point. You can only do so many trick plays with an offensive lineman or whatever, before people catch on. Juju's out, seems pretty serious. Hamstrings are notorious for lingering. Pretty
Mhm.
serious injury. We just saw Mike Evans go down. He was like, "Oh, my hamstring's fine. My hamstring's fine." We've known it's been an issue for 2 weeks. All it takes is one misstep. It's very painful, as you could see from Mike Evans last night. Juju had a very
Mhm.
similar hamstring injury. Who knows how long he's going to be out? Rice is out for the season. Hollywood's out for the season. Uh, Worthy's still there, but I mean, I'm not putting Worthy because most leagues Worthy's not available, not even in
Right.
redraft.
Right.
So
Dude,
you're
we're
not
gonna
going to
be
get.
wrong on Worthy just based on volume alone. We didn't
Yeah,
expect everybody else to go down.
yeah, because I was out on Worthy this year, but yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. The only thing that's going to potentially save him is just who else is there if
Right.
anybody else goes down. But yeah, Hardman, he knows the system, he knows the team, he knows Patrick, he knows the tendencies of Patrick. He's proven himself with the team before as a reliable option, seasoned vet guy. Obviously, nothing sexy, nothing exciting, especially in Dynasty. But with all the injuries and crap going on, I mean, he's going to help you limp through until you get JMO back, Debo, DK, whoever it is you're missing, Nico, etc. Uh, I think Miko Hardman to be a fine fill in and maybe even a rest of season play. Like I said, they're definitely not adding any receivers. They don't seem
No.
interested in free agency. We have a few weeks until the real life deadline closes, but everybody they've been linked to, they're pretty much like, nah, we like what we got. So unless like Deontay Johnson goes there, he's a candidate. If they really do move on from Cooper Cup, he's a candidate. But I just don't see the Chiefs being interested in any of those guys. That's just kind of not in their plans. They'd rather spend money elsewhere. So I'd rather have Miko Hardman over some of these other top ads we're going to be going over later, and I can explain why. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it, man. Hey, we got a comment here. We got Blue Yays. What's up, Blue Yays? He says, traded Jacobs for DJ Moore plus a mid-round pick, 3-player keepers. Needed a wide receiver bad. Still have Kamara, Hunt, Hubbard, and Bigsby asked around. It's the best I could get. L question mark. I know it's not the best value. Not the best value, but dude, you got a mid third round pick in DJ Moore for Jacobs, and you still have Kamara, Hunt, Hubbard. I know the Saints have looked bad, but Kamara just signed. I believe I don't know if you saw that, Bobby, but it looked like he just signed a 2-year extension. Hunt
yes.
is
Mhm.
going to be good. Even with Pacheco coming back, I think Hunt still has some value. Hubbard is probably the most slept on running back I think this season. Hubbard's
100%.
the
Yeah.
Panthers are just terrible, but Hubbard's been balling out. And then we'll have to see about Bigsby with ETN coming back, but kind of Hunt and Bigsby are kind of in that same group where they're both very doable guys, and as long as they're starting, they hold a lot of value, especially if you have like I'd say Kamara and Hubbard. Once we say Kamara or Pacheco and ETN come back, you say Kamara and Hubbard are your starters. Hunt or Bigsby as your flex play is not bad. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah.
Especially if you need a wide receiver and you got DJ Moore. I think Caleb Williams is only going to get better.
Yeah, I like it. I'm certainly not laughing at it, especially with how hard it has been to get trades pushed through. You can attest to
Yeah.
this, and I can
Yes.
attest to this. It's been very hard to trade this year. A lot of people still have warped values that might not necessarily coincide with reality. Yeah, I like it, especially with the rest of your group. Uh, I'm not a Jacobs guy. I used to be a Jacobs guy. You and I have had a lot of conversations about him.
Yes, we have.
If you can get off on Jacobs now, that's great, especially for a third rounder in a dynasty, because I fully expect probably not this season since he's still hurt, but like Lloyd or somebody else is going to usurp Josh Jacobs. And right now, in the here and now of the current season, it's not going to hurt you because they're just not a run team. I expected Jacobs to get a lot more volume, which he desperately needs to succeed. He just
Right.
hasn't been getting it. He doesn't get high value touches. He doesn't get red zone looks. They tend to go for receiving touchdowns. I do think he did get his first receiving touchdown like a ridiculous amount of time this past game, but don't look for that to be a continuous trend. They're going to go their receivers more often than not. So, yeah, I like that. I definitely agree DJ Moore is the most valuable piece out of all those players that you traded. So, you won just by merit of getting the most valuable guy. And 100% agree the Bears just got out of their bye. You don't have to worry about bye anymore. So DJ Moore sits in there nicely. Caleb's only going to get better, and I think DJ is going to be pretty much the target hog of that team, along with probably Cole Kmet, because Keenan Allen's on the downward spiral, and Odunze would be good, but obviously I know in a dynasty league why nobody's really kind of ready to part with Odunze just yet. So yeah, you won that.
Yeah, agree. And I think with Jacobs too, you said it a little bit, and we've talked about this so much, but with Jacobs, he needs so much volume, and he just keeps getting a little older. The more volume, they increases the chance of injury he has. And you said you gotta get off of Jacobs. Get off of Jacobs before he gets off on you. You know what I mean?
Right, 100%, man.
Bobby, let's move on to my favorite segment of the show. That is Slam or Scam, where we go through the 10 most added players, kickers, defenses not included, that have been added on Sleeper over the past week. And we say if they're a slam, if we're adding them to our rosters, maybe they're still slam if we put a little caveat in there, or scam. Are we just completely staying away from these guys? They're just garbage. Don't want any part of it. Number one, Bobby, should be no surprise. 1.6 million ads. Surprised once again that he's that available, because this guy was already at the top earlier in the year. That's Juwan Jennings, wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. It makes sense. Debo, he's sick. Ayuk out for the season. Juwan Jennings might be in line for a lot of work. And that was our worry about him earlier in the year. We're like, how much work is he going to see? Now that Ayuk's gone, he might see a lot. We'll have to see how quick Debo comes back. But Juwan Jennings, he's a slam for me with Ayuk out for the season. He just seems like a guy that you got to play, got to get if he's available. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, if he's available, 100%. I mean, I'd rather have him like over Daubs, for example, if you can get Jennings and he's available. Jennings filled in nicely that 1 week where he put up like 40-something points.
Right.
Once again, don't expect that to happen all the time, but I think the floor is probably like 10 points. The ceiling realistically is probably like 25, somewhere around in there. And Debo will be back. Who knows how long, but he will be back. But yeah, Ayuk's completely done. Kittle's banged up. So, I mean, once Debo comes back, it'll be the Debo and whoever's left standing at that point show. So yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've covered Jennings before, and it's one of those things where it's like I try not to recycle guys because you should be holding on to them long enough for potential situations like this. I know it's difficult. I've dropped guys before way too early, but, you know, I just try not to have the same guys every week in the waiver wire. But, yeah, slam for me on Jennings.
Absolutely. We're going to see a lot of this going through right now. A lot of these guys that are being added. We see this every week, but especially this week, all the injuries that happen, everybody is jumping on the replacements, which we saw that when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua went down, and all the Rams receivers and tight ends were being added, and we were like, okay, like we get someone has to catch the ball, but are you really playing any of these guys? None of them were valuable. We talked about them again the next week, except they were in the next segment that we talk about, the over too soon guys.
Right.
But here we go, number two, with 937.3 thousand ads this week. Sterling Shepard, wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I initially was thinking scam big time, and I've completely switched to slam. Sterling Shepard, man, he's a talented guy, and he's going to get a lot of playing time, I think, now on this Tampa Bay team. He's already had a couple touchdowns and looked decent at moments with Tampa Bay, with Godwin and Evans on the field. Evans might be out for a while. You said they linger. He might be out a long time. I'm not saying IR candidate, but possibly. I mean, possibly it lingers the whole season. Maybe he comes back, but he doesn't come back 100%. Looks like Chris Godwin's season is over. It looks like a dislocated ankle. I'm all in on Sterling Shepard, man. And against Atlanta this week, I think Baker is going to continue to cook. This team, unlike the Browns, where I just feel like they're just completely dead in the water, and it's just you limp through every week until the season's finally over. With all the injuries to the Bucks, I think it's really demoralizing and it sucks, but I don't think this team's dead yet. I think they're still going to keep playing hard. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, I think he's a slam as well. Baker's playing out of his mind. Very high volume passing offense. Somebody else we're going to get to, and I'm probably not going to get him in our dynasty because I have last priority, but I'd prefer to have him. But yeah, 100% Sterling Shepard was a guy 2 years ago, had a lot of hype on the Giants, I believe it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
Career ended early that season, unfortunately, like third or fourth game, major injury. Recovered now with the Bucks. Yeah, I mean, when you're missing Godwin and Evans for the foreseeable future, Godwin for the whole season, Mike Evans, they act like he's not an IR candidate. We've done this before with Mike
Right.
Evans season 2 weeks ago. Oh, my hamstring's a little messed up, but I'm fine. There's a downside to playing through it, especially when you're like 32 years old with a lot of wear and tear and mileage, like Mike Evans, and we saw it last night. So, yeah, somebody's got to catch the ball, somebody's got to step up. Could also run the ball more, rely more on like Rashad and Bucky since they have that two-headed monster they got going on. They could see more targets and whatnot, but those guys aren't available in your league. So yeah, Sterling Shepard, 100% slam.
Agreed, man. Surprisingly, a lot of slams. Number 3, 744.8 thousand ads. Ricky Pearsall from the San Francisco 49ers wide receiver. I, once again, just like Sterling Shepard, I wanted to say scam here, but I'm going to say slam. And that is because they spent a first round pick. Like the 49ers are a loaded team. Where are you going to spend the first round pick? Like you really have your choice of spoils. Just who do you think is the best guy there? Who do you want on your team? They did not need a wide receiver, but they drafted Ricky anyways. So that makes me say, you know what? With all these guys down, him being a first round pick, why not Ricky, right? Why
Right.
not take Ricky? Why not take the chance? He's probably going to get quite a bit of time out there, have a lot of snaps. I'll say slam. I'll say slam for Ricky too. I don't think we've ever started with 3 slams in a row, but it feels different, doesn't it, than the Rams guys that were like, okay, Puka and Cup are out, so jump on these receivers. Like, no, they're not any good. The teams don't have anything really invested in them. Ricky's a first round pick. The teams invest. They expect him to come in and be able to do something right away. So I'm all over Ricky. What do you think?
Yeah, Ricky finds himself in a very good situation. Obviously, they didn't want to play him as early as they're being forced to right now. He's looked at more as a developmental guy. I mean, they just signed Ayuk to that long-term contract, and then unfortunately he got hurt. Like I said, Debo depends on the severity of this pneumonia. Thankfully for his personal real life health, he was released this morning from the hospital, but very unclear whether or not he's going to play this week, how long it's going to take to recover, things of that nature. So yeah, between Jennings and Pearsall, I mean, I'd rather have Jennings first simply because he's shown that ability already to fill in when needed and called upon. But yeah, Pearsall is definitely great. I had a chance to get him in our dynasty and included in a trade, but already having Debo, obviously thinking about the future, I couldn't have expected all this happening. And in the current moment, I was like, man, it's kind of hard owning the 49ers when they spread the ball around so much and
Right.
everybody's so volatile week to week, except for CMC, who's injured, obviously. But yeah, Pearsall, the only knock against him in his scouting coming out of college was just, he might have a bit of a steep learning curve based off his frame and some of his limited acceleration, explosiveness, stuff of that nature. But overall, good route runner, good with the ball in his hands, good catch radius, no problems with drops, that type of thing. Just might take some time to get used to the physicality of the NFL, kind of get used to playing against that level of competition. But yeah, 100% worth a waiver spot for sure.
Number 4, tight end. So we're moving away from our receivers here. 450,000 ads. So he did take quite a big drop from the 744 previously. Tired for the Bucks. Cade Otton. I gotta check. He was catching the ball a ton. Yeah, 8 catches on 10 targets for 100 yards and a fumble. Still finished as tight end 5. Oh, I'm gonna say, man, I'm slamming again, dude. I'm gonna slam again. I think both of us have, but I feel like we've both been higher on Otton than the consensus. A big problem with Otton was just Godwin and Evans took up so many targets and they run the ball so much. They're kind of like running the ball with whoever's hot at the moment. And then I think Cade Otton is a reliable target for Baker. He's seen, dating back to week 3, 8 targets, 9 targets, 4 targets, 6 targets, 10 targets. And then he is Atlanta and Kansas City next, San Fran by Giants, Carolina. And then his playoff schedule is Vegas, Chargers, Dallas, Carolina again. So you get 2 games against Carolina in there, including a game in the championship. Yeah, he's a slam for me. I just think with all the targets that are going to be available, you got to take. If you need a tight end, he's number 1 on my free agent roster. What do you think?
Guess who was on last week's waiver wire article when you didn't have to fight all your league mates? Kate
It
Otten was
couldn't have
on
been
last
Kate
week's waiver
Otten.
wire. Kate Otten was on there. Called it last week. Try to get a week ahead. I tell guys all the time in the article, I try to get a week ahead. But that way you don't have to fight with everybody or spend a lot of fab. Yeah, this is the guy I most want on the Bucks. Most experience with the organization, been with them. Could potentially be his 3rd-year breakout. Always was a promising guy who has shown flashes with the Bucks back in 2022. I've had him on my dynasty roster at various times. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to miss out on him this time. Thought about picking him up last week when I wrote about him. Thought Freiermuth would be even better with Russ. Freiermuth is now 11 in tight end, which isn't terrible, but I'd much rather have Otten, especially with these injuries. Much rather have Otten over Sterling Shepard. He's my number 1 guy to target on the Buccaneers. So if you're advantageous enough to have a good amount of fab left, you got good waiver priority. If he makes it to me at number 8 in my waiver priority, I'm like counting my lucky stars because 100% Kate Otten's who I'd be after. You said enough about how he performed last night. It's only going to get better. He's going to start to add touchdowns to that. Baker probably has some chemistry with him. He's been on the team the longest, knows the scheme, knows everything about the team. So, 100% slam on Otten. He's like probably my number 1 top priority ad this week, but I'm just going to have to enjoy him on somebody else's team.
Man, I like you putting the meat out there, man. Just saying, he's my number 1 guy. I love that. 1 touchdown on the season. So that makes me feel like we got some positive regression coming.
Oh, 100%. Now they got to go to somebody. And like I said, I don't think Baker's going to stop being a gunslinger when he's playing as well as he has been.
Right. Number 5, we're going to talk very shortly about this guy. 439.3 thousand ads. Wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, Romeo Doubs. That is because he kicked off the article. He kicked off the show today. We already talked about him. You guys can go back, watch that if you'd like to, or go read Bobby's article on the website, bettergreen.com. Otherwise, I don't have much more to say about Doubs. Do you?
No. Nope, slam.
Okay, slam. This is the last guy. I can't believe we're going to go through the first 6, possibly all slams. And then there's a huge drop off. It's almost comedic. But at number 6, we have 435.2 thousand ads. Wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, Keon Coleman. Hey, Bobby, you remember, was it last week when we saw him in the most dropped players list?
Oh, I remember.
Hey, welcome back, Keon. Remember when we were like, wow, you guys really giving up on this guy already, huh? That seems kind of silly. Silly gooses out there. Welcome back, Keon Coleman. Almost 500,000 ads, 435,000 against Seattle. What is everybody afraid about Amari Cooper? It's like, okay, I don't get it. Keon Coleman, yeah, he's a slam for me just because of the upside that he has. And you're probably dropping the worst player on your team. Maybe your defense was on bye, and you one of those people that like to keep a defense. I don't want to drop them, even though they're on bye. So you put them on your bench. You have an extra space. Throw away your worst player, get Keon Coleman. I think he's this low because I think even though he was like top 10 most dropped, I think a lot of people were smart and just kept him. So I think that's why he's down here at 7. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, I didn't write about him in the waiver wire because I'm still holding on to him since day 1 in our redraft, and the guy who has him in our dynasty has been holding since day 1. So I didn't think he was going to be that available, so I didn't write about him. But yeah, this is 100% a slam. I mean, he had to show Amari Cooper how to run the route that led to Amari Cooper's touchdown. Like, he has a place on this team. You just need to be patient. So 100% slam. Nothing else really needs to be said. Shame on you if you dropped him.
Right. You know who's going to be Amari Cooper in a few years?
Who's up?
Keon Coleman.
Might be.
Could be. Come on. Both big guys that can go up and get the ball. If you're in a dynasty, you got to keep them.
Right.
All right. Here's our drop off, Bobby. Number 7, 310,000 ads. Wide receiver again for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again. This is Trey Palmer. Scam. Scam.
Right.
What?
Scam.
Tell me when you're starting that man. Tell me
Right.
how bad is your roster that, or how many people are on bye? Which, by the way, week 8, nobody's on bye this week, so we get to put the byes behind us for a second. But Trey Palmer, who's playing him? You are not starting him, and I don't know. Do you have 14 wide receivers that you have to start for each team, and you're in a 12-man league? Like, I don't get it. I don't get the Trey Palmer. He's against Atlanta this week. I guess maybe the matchup. Okay. Baltimore is one of the worst pass defenses in the league. 3 targets, 1 reception for 16 yards. And the last 2 weeks, nothing. He saw 14, 21, 21, 31% of snaps. Best he's ever finished this year is wide receiver 34. That is because he caught a touchdown. He only had 3 receptions for 26 yards. I don't want any part of Trey Palmer.
Yeah, if you're going for Bucks, go for Shepard, go for Otten. I'd rather have Dobbs over him. I'd rather have Coleman over him. I'd rather have all the guys that we just discussed before him over him. So, dude, if you can't get any of those guys, then I'm sorry, but I'd rather have any of those guys that we've already talked about over him any day of the week, 99.99999% of the time.
Right. Hey, how about number 8? 270,000 ads. Wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. No, not Jerry Jeudy. No, Cedric Tillman. Bobby, it's Cedric Tillman. What is going on, dude? Scam. Get out of here.
Can't take it.
Y'all gotta stop playing. He had eight catches on 12 targets for 81 yards, which is excellent. That is a very good stat line. The game before that, 0 targets. Before that, 0 targets. Before that, 0 targets. Before that, 1 reception. Before that, 1 reception. Before that, 1 reception. So he had 3 receptions in the first 6 games, and then he almost tripled it in week 7. Okay. Okay. I don't even know what to do with this. I can't believe this many people are adding Cedric Tillman.
I got you. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. I
That's
get
Cedric Tillman's
everybody
song.
who's a Browns fan is elated that Watson's done for the season, possibly for the rest of his career. But if it's not Jerry Jeudy or Njoku, another guy like Bateman, so from that same draft class I was really high on that I'm still not even getting, Elijah Moore. Don't even want Elijah Moore. If it's not Jeudy, if it's not Njoku, especially Njoku, I think Njoku is going to be your main target leader.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jeudy will fall in there somewhere since Cooper's gone. I think anybody after that's just going to be very hit or miss because I don't think they use Chubb too much as a receiver. He's usually a pretty pure runner. So, and also, once again, Watson was terrible and blah, 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 blah. But do you really think Dorian Thompson-Robinson's going to be slinging that thing? Do you really think Jameson Winston's going to be slinging that thing?
Go Jameis. Let's go, Jameis.
Like, who's going to be slinging that thing? Is there going to be enough volume for anybody after Jeudy and after Njoku? Unlikely. I get Tillman's been with them the longest. I get Tillman knows the system and all that. Well, besides Njoku. Njoku's been there the longest, but Tillman's like – I got in an argument with Browns fans over Tillman being a potential cut candidate along with David Bell. And I don't know what you delusional Browns fans see in this guy, but it's got to be most of you all propping him up to be this highly picked up. But you need to let that go. That's all I can say. I'm sorry, but you need to let that go. I love you, Browns fans. You're a good fan base. I have a lot of you on X, Twitter, whatever the hell we're calling it, dead naming it. You got to let that one go. David Bell got cut. Your boy Cedric's up next. You got to let that go.
Oh, that's too funny, man. That's too funny. Number 9, 251,000 ads. Wide receiver for Buffalo Bills. Welcome back, Khalil Shakir. Scam. He's always a scam. Khalil Shakir is always a scam. It just keeps tricking people, man. 7 targets for 7 receptions for 65 yards. against Tennessee. That's great. The week before, he had 2 for 2 for 19 yards. Wide receiver 80. Okay, like what is the upside? He's finished as wide receiver 17 once. That was against Jacksonville, who's terrible. I don't get it, dude. I don't get it with Khalil Shakir. He's so inconsistent. What do you think, Bobby? I mean, like he's a scam to me.
Let's see. I will tell you exactly how I feel about Khalil Shakir. I think Khalil Shakir is the most dynamic, explosive, incredible receiver in the
Lies,
entire league. I
lies.
think if you're looking for a comp, I think his best comp would probably be something coming up right here.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? I love the young people.
How many times? How many times do we have to go through this with Khalil Shakir?
A
How many
million.
times? All right, I'm going to give you a number. Anybody out there still holding on to hope for Khalil Shakir in the year of our Lord 2024 on October 22nd? I'm going to give you some help right here, right now. Take out a pen, take out a paper, take your iPad notes out, iPhone notes, whatever you want. 1-800 bets off. 1-800 bets off. That's what you need. That's what you need because you need rehab, you need help, and I want to encourage you to get a licensed clinical physician to recommend a therapist to you and talk about how badly you've been hurt by Shakir and why you're still in an abusive relationship with him. Because nobody deserves to live their life unhappy, trapped in a relationship they can't escape with.
You're right, Bobby. You're right. Shame on Khalil Shakir doing this to these folks out here.
You can get help. Don't be afraid, okay? Don't be afraid.
There's help out there. There's help. Unfortunately for some, there is help out here, and they don't want that help. But that is number 10, 251,000 ads quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome back, Danger Russ Wilson. Poor Justin Fields. He said, "Help should not be on the way. I got this, man." 4-2. Russ cooked the Jets, bro. Shout out Shitty Cat though. Shout out to Shitty Cat. I was messaging him back and forth on X, and I was like, "Are the Jets this bad, or is Russell Wilson this good?" And he's just like, "Fuck them, both of them, dude, both of them." Russ is back, dude. I don't actually believe it. He's a scam for me. I mean, he doesn't have the upside that that Justin Fields has. I don't love his receiving options. But then again, if you're choosing between guys like Daniel Jones, Dorian Thompson Robinson, which is the 13th most added player, freaking big yikes, Marcus Mariota, I mean, I guess I pick him over those guys, but just him by himself, Russell Wilson, I'm saying scam.
This one's tough because if you really need a quarterback, I'm actually all in favor of this compared to what your other options could be right now at this late in the season. Definitely not a dynasty option unless you're just really depleted right now. Thank God, knock on wood, we haven't had too many quarterback injuries so far. So far, we haven't. So, dynasty, no. But if you're in a redraft and somebody dropped him or whatever, like 100%, I'd pick him up and he's definitely worth a start. My only reason why I'm not saying he's a slam is just because after the Giants next week, he goes on bye in week 9. And then he's got a brutal schedule. It just does not let up. That's the only reason why I'm not 100% on board because week 10 he plays the Commanders. So I don't think he's going to have the firepower to last in what looks to be a shootout against them. Week 11 he goes up against Baltimore. Once again, he's not going to be able to stand up to that. 12 against Cleveland. If Miles is still healthy, I think he's going to get lit up. 13 against the Bengals, 14 he goes back to Cleveland, 15 against Philly, 16 against Baltimore, 17 against Kansas City. That's just a brutal schedule. That's just a brutal elite level, good level defensive schedule that he's going to be playing against. He's going to be finding himself like easily behind against Baltimore, easily behind against the Bengals, easily behind against the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs haven't even been firing on all cylinders this year. They're still undefeated, and their defense is just going to light them up with Chris Jones. And like McDuffie probably lighten up his receivers or whatever, which right now it's just Pickens leading the team and that's it. So it's like once McDuffie shuts down Pickens, what are you going to do? I wish you'd throw to Freiermuth, but, wish in one hand and do something with the other, as my mom would say. But that's the only reason why I'm not committed. If you're just desperate, you could do a lot worse, especially at this point in some deep leagues, 100%. But that schedule is just so brutal after this week. You're going to have week 9 bye, and then after that, he's just not going to be able to compete with those high-flying teams. And then the ones that are defensively good, he's just really not going to have an answer once they start doubling up on Pickens. Like, it's going to get ugly. They'll have to turn to the ground a lot and rely on, like, Najee, Jalen, whoever's left.
I agree, man. I agree. You try to find some music for this next segment, Bobby, while I transition us over. That is, we just went over the top 10. We just gave you our waiver ads. These are the guys that it's over too soon for. Just when they get onto our rosters, they leave us just as quickly. Bobby, unfortunately, number 1, throw that music up whenever you're ready.
All right, I'm finding it. Here we go.
Okay. All right, let's hear it.
All right. Let me see a good one here. There we go.
He's getting it, folks.
That's a good one.
You don't want to miss it.
R.I.P. baby. It's gonna be fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see. All right. Hold on. We got a little commercial here. I ain't rich enough to afford Spotify or anything else or YouTube Premium. All right.
Oh. The feelings already. The feelings. All right. Goodbye, Chris Godwin. 432.8 thousand drops. It's not your fault, Chris Godwin. It's your ankle's fault. Sean Tucker, running back for the Buccaneers as well. 333.7 thousand drops. Goodbye, Trey Sermon. Third most drop player, running back for the Colts, 308.9 thousand drops. I went up against this guy in a league this week. Jordan Whittington, 0 points. I was
started Jordan Whittington against you.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
I think it might have been Scott Fish. So if it's Scott Fish, it's like it's fair because there's nobody left.
Right.
But still, I was happy that he went up against me. 302.4 thousand drops. Number 5, Justin Fields. Goodbye. One good game for Russ. Everybody just throws Fields into the dust. 176.3 thousand drops. Oh, Bobby, our boy from last week. 175.9 thousand drops. Wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. Bub Means. Not
what?
Bub.
Means.
Not Bub.
Not Bub. Not Mr. 5 points.
Not the guy we told you guys to leave on waivers. They got rid of Bub. But he had 3 catches. Goodbye, Bub.
Goodbye.
Number 7, Deshaun Watson. 161.3 thousand drops. Goodbye, Deshaun. We're sorry.
Bye-bye.
Sorry to hear about your Achilles. Number 8, most drop player. 153.4 thousand drops. Darius Slayton. Malik Neighbors is back. Goodbye, Darius Slayton. Number 9, most drop player. 144.1 thousand drops. Wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. Wait, Jerry Jeudy?
Again?
Wait. Why is everybody dropping Jeudy and picking up Cedric Tillman? What did we miss?
Gosh.
What did I miss?
I mean, I know Jeudy put up 2 points or something stupid, but come on now.
5 targets for 1 reception. 18 yards. Okay, but y'all really want Tillman? All right, y'all do you. I mean, Judy's only played over 90% of snaps the last 2 games. People be clowning.
Some people, man.
Clowns, dude. Number 10, wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, 133.1 thousand drops. Michael Wilson. I mean, this is just a week of dropping the number 2s, huh? Malik Neighbors is back. Marvin Harrison is back. Get rid of the other guys. I mean, I kind of get it. Michael Wilson has not been very productive this year. 3 targets, 1 catch for 15 yards. I get it, but
I definitely understand that one. Yeah.
yeah, sorry. Bye-bye, Michael Wilson. All right, Bobby. What do you have? Oh, news while we're filming. Browns are planning to start Jameis Winston at quarterback versus Ravens in week 8. Load up on your Browns receivers. Load up on your Cedric Tillmans and Jerry Jeudy's.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, excuse me, if that was going to happen because I was looking at some news right before we went live that said DTR has a torn tendon in his throwing hand.
Oh, my
So,
God.
no surprise, but that screws me in our redraft because I had DTR as a waiver ad, so I'm going to have to take that off because somebody's been holding on to Jameson like since the draft day with their very last pick. So kudos to that individual, but
Absolutely.
yeah, very unfortunate for me. So
Very disgusting.
yeah, nipples protruding through their shirt, absolutely disgusting.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Oh, my God. We got a comment from Noah. He said, Njoku about to eat.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. He just put up 24 points. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. You were just talking good on Njoku, too. You said
Yeah,
he's the one to own. Like, that's the one we're not joking about. We're joking about the Tillman and Judy, but not as much
yeah, I mean,
Judy.
I'd still take Judy over Tillman for sure. I
Oh,
think
God,
Judy's
yeah.
still the number 2. But yeah, I think Njoku's going to be the number 1. So kudos to anybody that got Njoku. But I don't know. Winston's kind of a meme. I don't know much about his real life ability. I don't know if he's. I mean, I gotta imagine he'd be better than DTR, but I
Bro,
don't
he
know.
balls out. The thing is, he doesn't. No passes ever hit the ground, but it just depends which team catches the ball.
Hey man, sometimes you gotta sling that thing, especially when you already have a lost season. So
Right, absolutely. And Jameis, he'll go out there. Screw it. This is maybe an opportunity to play for a different team. I think Jameis could be the starter in Carolina. I think Jameis is better than a couple of these guys we got out here. Jameis on the Giants, bro.
Oh, I mean, I feel like those franchise teams just have to do better with their scouting. Maybe they should hire me at this point because
Yeah,
you got to move on from Daniel Jones. You've already basically committed to moving off Bryce Young this season. Dalton's not the answer. Dalton's now turned back into a pumpkin. He's not doing the Sam Darnold redemption arc. Uh, yeah, I mean, as it stands right now, I don't disagree. Winston could probably be better than Jones and could definitely probably be better than uh, what's his nuts, Andy Dalton. So
yeah,
yeah,
I agree. Oh, Noah with an interesting comment here. He says, "What you think about Matthew Stafford to the Vikings? Have you heard about that?"
I think that's complete and utter bullshit. And if it's true,
From a
it is the
Darnold owner
most
down there, that is bogus, disgusting.
absolutely the worst possible trade in the history of trades. Absolutely appalling. Don't want any piece of that trade, not even a little bit. And then, on a serious note, though, how disgusting, how nasty a little trade that is. Uh, you know, when Sam Darnold was the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings this year, you were looking at inflation at about 2%. What is it now? Like a 5-1, 6-1 record? I don't even know. Just balling out of his mind. Consistent Justin Jefferson targets. If you trade for a washed up, disgusting, vile, despicable human being like Matt Stafford, sitting in the cuck chair, just listening to Kelly talk about banging his back up at UGA, you deserve it. You deserve the worst things to happen to you because what's going to happen is your Justin Jefferson shares going to go away. You're going to completely erode those. They're going to crash just like the economy. You're not going to get fed Aaron Jones. That's not going to happen anymore. No more feeding Aaron Jones. You're not going to get your Jordan Addison targets. And can you really say life under Matt Stafford was better than when Sam Darnold was president? No, you can't. Can't say life was better. But no, for real
Good
though,
point.
I think that's just a baseless rumor because why? Sam Darnold's playing way better than anybody expected. You can easily
That's what I'm
cut
thinking.
out on him after this year. JJ McCarthy's waiting in the wings. Your first round pick, rehabbing an injury. sitting behind, learning, getting the mental side of things done, getting the playbook down, rehabbing, all that, putting in the prep work. After this, you either trade Darnold to a desperate team like what we talked about, maybe the Panthers, maybe the Giants, the Raiders. A lot of teams out there could use a quarterback or at least a very serviceable backup in case something happens to their star on like a cheap deal, because injuries are unpredictable and they can happen at any moment at any time, and you'll get them for a hell of a steal because nobody expected them to play this well. So, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm not surprised that they want to move off of Stafford, but why the Vikings when they have their young stud first round pick they just drafted ready to go next season? We're hoping and anticipating, and Darnold's doing more than anybody could think. So why would you try to trade with them of all teams instead of the Raiders, the Giants, the Panthers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Like, name some more teams. It just doesn't make sense that they would trade QB for what? QB? Like, why? Because that would imply Darnold then goes there unless they have something weird going on where they send Stafford to the Vikings, but the Vikings give them a receiver or something, but they're not going to part with Jefferson. They're not going to part with Addison. You get like what, Jalen Naylor? You get Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is getting up there in age with wear and tear. I know to some extent the running back cliff could be a myth. We've seen Derrick Henry bust it. We're apparently seeing Alvin Kamara bust it to the point where he's still worth a 2-year contract extension at like 29, 30 years old with all the wear and tear he has on a disappointing team that has proven the salary cap is just a social construct. So I don't know. Just doesn't make sense to me. What do you think?
I see it very similar to you. Noah says Darnold can go to the Rams. Imagine a Stafford to Addison and Jefferson. That'd be great. I just don't think it happens. He said Darnold is doing well because of the system. He's not all that. Well, that also that also makes me think though that this trade wouldn't happen, because if it is the system, they have the guy that's been in there all off season and got to learn this offense, learn the system, taking them to what, 5-1, I believe it is right now. I don't know why you would change that. Why you'd bring in Stafford that doesn't know the system. He's going to come in. And how much better is he? I feel like to mess that up, too, they'd have to give up more than Stafford. And I don't see them giving up. Because you're saying, like, the Vikings send extra with Darnold. I think the Rams might have to send more Stafford and a pick to the Vikings to get Darnold. I don't know. 100%. I just think they're both too 100%. Similar. And if it is the system, why mess with it? No, says right. That's true. I just can't imagine they trust Darnold in the playoffs. I don't think the Vikings thought they were making the playoffs to start the year. Yeah. This is crazy. I think they're playing with house money right now. So you know what? Darnold in the playoffs, they're like, screw it. We're not even supposed to be here.
All right. The universe has given us a sign. Whoever's tuning in, you're lucky and you're blessed right now. Platinum blessed, Mike Perry. Trending. Colin Kaepernick admits he hasn't watched an NFL game in 8 years. He only looks at stats to stay updated so they know which teams to contact about his potential services. Colin Kaepernick's available.
Oh, hey. My father was a fly.
And the Rockets' red glare. All right, I'm going to head out. The national anthem. Breaking news across Sleeper. Colin Kaepernick out for the rest of the game.
Yeah, right. Coming up. God, we're about at the trade deadline. Let me look that up real quick. Let's see when.
Real life and fantasy trade.
Yeah. NFL trade deadline is.
I will say while you're looking that up,
yeah.
This is potential. We've already seen some big trades, Adams, Cooper. I still think compared to the stinkers we had been getting like in 2022, such a stinker year with a lot of speculation that never took off. 2023 in the offseason, we started seeing a lot of moves. This offseason, we've seen a lot of moves. I still think before the deadline, even though we've already seen some pretty big trades, I think there's still potential this year to see some more blockbusters. So
that was going to be my question. If you think that there's going to be any more trades that shake up the fantasy landscape, it's November 5th at 4 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, so we're coming up on that really soon, like 2 weeks roughly. So yeah. I think that we could see Kupp leaving if anybody from the Rams is going, Cup would still be somebody who has value, especially right now since he's coming back from injury and all that. People would be most willing to take a risk on him. I kind of thought, I don't know how the Saints keep doing black magic with the cap to keep doing this ridiculousness that shouldn't be going on and signing old guys to contracts they don't need. But I don't think Kamara is anymore. Let's go through some rosters right quick. I'm sure you can think of some guys too, but Cup's potential. I don't think you're going to see Debo traded. I know a lot of people were saying Debo, especially now that Ayuk's gone, Kittle's banged up. Debo's not going anywhere. Anybody you can think of right off the top you think might be going, might be moving on?
I wonder about Christian Kirk.
Possibly, since BTJ's done way better than anybody thought, kind of like a wide receiver version of the Darnold thing.
Right.
Except they spent the first round pick on him instead of whatever the hell they got for Darnold. I don't even know.
Right. Man, I mean, I don't see I don't think guys who are in contract disputes. I don't really see T. Higgins going. I don't think
he'll
the
go
season.
after this year somewhere, but
yeah. Everybody else is not happy.
Money. Now that Adams is gone, can't really. I mean, Cooper wasn't really he wasn't vocal, but you could tell he was frustrated.
Yeah.
Nobody really on the offensive side of the ball, like Hassan Reddick, just recently ended his standoff with the Jets. At some point, he's going to play now.
Yeah, which is good for them. I mean, they needed him back in week 1.
Right. Maybe ETN. I hope as an ETN owner so I can get 2 startable backs he gets traded.
We'll see. I don't know,
I mean,
man.
they'd be stupid to do it personally because I know that this is controversial, but ETN's still good. Watch out. Stone me. But,
I think he's still good too, man. I don't know. I just don't think they're going to get value for him right now.
That's true. Because as much as the Cowboys make sense, it's the Cowboys, so of course they're not going to do what makes sense.
Right. Let's see.
Javonte's not going to get traded, nor is his job going to get taken by anybody who's coming up this week.
You're right. Dude,
And I saw the ball boy. Real quick, ball boy, the one with the orange X standing next to Bo Nix on the sideline, halfway point of the field, left-hand side if you're watching the TV from an easterly direction in the northern hemisphere. Think by season's end, we see Javonte lose his job to the ball boy. I think that guy's going to be the hot new waiver pickup in 2 weeks.
Here's a couple I just saw on PFF that are interesting. We're going to stick with offensive players, too. DeAndre Hopkins to the Ravens.
I
think Hopkins moving would be good.
It would be good for him, but how much are you willing to give up for, a 31, 32-year-old receiver right now?
Right. Travis Etienne to the Cowboys.
Never going to happen because it makes too much sense.
Right.
He'd be way too good for the team.
Cooper Kupp to the Steelers. I don't see him as a
somebody
Steeler.
besides Pickens, but yeah, I don't think it'll happen.
And these are all defensive. Max Crosby to the Lions. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill back to Kansas City, maybe?
I don't think so. Once Tua comes back, maybe I'm too optimistic, but Tua's going to bring all that. I guess it's a good thing for Tua's sake that the team looks as bad as it does without him. But as an organization, it's terrifying that your offense is so reliant on him. So on the one hand, he's got to be feeling pretty good about his long-term career prospects.
Yeah.
And his, stability and security, knowing that's how bad the team is without him and how good they are with him. Despite all of his flaws, the jokes about Tua turn the ball over, all that, it's pretty evident after the past few weeks, dear God, that offense needs him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think they're going to trade anybody. Tyreek is where he is. The Chiefs made a decision to move on for him for a reason. I think they're comfortable with that. I think he's comfortable with it, and I think the Dolphins are going to be fine. I was looking at just a few weeks ago when I was going over that trade I made with you for Achane. Once he came back from his concussion in 2022, he put up good numbers until he started fighting those hard defenses and all that jazz. But I think he's going to be just fine rest of the season. His playoff schedule is not terrible. Uh, they still have a chance. They really screwed themselves by throwing away that Colts game, but they're still salvageable. I think they have something to play for. They have motivation. I think they're going to be fine. I think he stays with them. So I think that team's going to turn it around. Don't know if they'll be able to make it playoffs at this point, but they're going to have a good push and they're going to do good things. And like I was telling you in real life, like sucks for Tua because if he retires, he loses like 70 to 80 mil instantly in guaranteed money. But it's
Right.
great for the organization to find somebody to move on from if this really is going to be that big of a problem. So unfortunately, Tua finds himself in a situation where it seems like he personally is comfortable with his health and is comfortable with the decisions he's made to keep playing, and he knows the risk associated with it and losing that money and everything if he does retire due to health issues. So it's pretty much locked into a situation where he's got to at least play for the next 2-3 years of that contract and ball out because he's going to lose a lot of money if not, and they'll definitely at least recoup enough money to move on. So I think the team would be fine. They'll turn it around, and he's got to start playing smarter. You know, he got this last one just because he was feeling the pressure of being down, tried to play hero ball, made a careless mistake. I think he's going to realize he shouldn't do that. And not saying he's not ever going to have a concussion again because, I mean, he went all last season without one, got one this year, but he's got to play more cautious. He's got to not do so much hero ball, especially with the weapons he has with Reek, Waddle, and Achan. Like, there's no reason for that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Gotta hop over here real quick to our comments. Noah, he says, nobody expected them to be good, but they are, so why not make that trade and go all in? Like, I agree. I think that, like, I'm going to just keep saying the same thing, but I feel like the difference between the Goff and Stafford trade versus, like, right now a Darnold and Stafford trade is just, it's midseason. I think that those guys need the, like, off time, the off season to really learn the playbook.
Right.
I think that's just why they're not. He said, I was hoping Christian Kirk would go to the Chiefs for that Rice role, but I couldn't hold on to him anymore. I appreciate that. Thank you, Noah. I'm sorry I stole him. But, yeah.
I don't know that Kirk could get traded. I think they just keep him, Davis, and BTJ. If anybody gets traded, it'd be ETN. But if I'm being honest, I don't think even ETN's going to get traded.
Yeah.
That franchise, until they fire Peterson and until they fire Press Taylor, is just going to be stuck where they're at. So their best chances of turning it around are to instantly fire those two, possibly even the manager, and then we can start talking about some things that make sense. But until then, I just don't think they're intelligent enough. And while BTJ is great and has looked like a revelation, I mean, it helps to have Kirk take away some attention. It helps to have Davis on the field. It helps to have 3 reliable receivers on the field because at some point, once you start having more creative play calling and once you start actually having a competent coach, you're going to get more out of Christian Kirk than what you're getting now. You'll be able to actually support with a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who I do not think is the problem. You'll be able to support at least 2 of those 3 starting receivers plus Evan Ingram. So,
yeah. No, I agree, man. I agree. I wish Kirk would go to the Chiefs. That'd be awesome. Noah said, which me and Kathy were actually talking about this yesterday. Tua said he won't wear a Guardian cap. CTE is already hitting. I agree, man. I mean, just the fact, like, you're coming back after an arm tackle made you have the fencing syndrome where your hands go all crazy from an arm tackle. Like, your brain's toast, man. And you're not going to wear the Guardian cap.
Am I misremembering? I thought he ran into DeMar Hamlin's hip. I thought his head hit his hip when he was in a pretty stable stance, and his hip was what knocked him out.
Maybe it was the hip, but I mean, like, it felt like he initiated. It felt like he ran into DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah, but DeMar Hamlin braced himself because
Yeah.
he knew he was going to get hit. He braced himself, squared up in like a boxing stance, and like his head made contact with the hip. But DeMar Hamlin already had time to like prepare and set himself up with a pretty good base so he didn't get knocked back. So
Right.
it's like the hip's pretty pointy, especially on a guy like DeMar Hamlin. So it's like running full force into somebody's hip that's been able to stabilize himself and kind of brace up for the impact. Like, I mean, I do agree he should wear a Guardian cap, but I mean, there's still the stigma of doing that in the NFL. Like, you know, I commented on it was pretty cool that Achan was wearing it, and I wondered if that was voluntary or a consequence of exiting protocol. It sounds like it was voluntary since Tua is not going to choose to wear it exiting the same protocol. But I mean, I don't know. We all have free will. We all have to make our choices, and we're all comfortable or uncomfortable with varying levels of risk. He knows what the risks are. He's in the off season taking judo and jujitsu to try to learn how to fall and mitigate damage and everything else. He's done things, so he knows what he needs to do. And I just think there's that stigma of it just looks stupid. So he's probably a little bit of that, probably a little bit of the machismo and whatnot. But it's like at the end of the day, that's what the guy does. That's what he wants to do. If he feels like it's going to hamper him more than help him, then I mean, it's his right. But yeah, I don't agree with it either.
Yeah. I'm trying to, I don't know. Then we have Hi, loving your stream, but I work right now. Can we connect on Discord so I can catch your stream later? Thanks. Jackson50. Jackson, I'm sorry. We have a Discord. I don't really know how to add people. Invite friends, but we're not friends on here. Jackson_50. I don't know. Do you know it at all? Do you understand Discord?
No, I don't really mess around with it too much.
Yeah.
Jackson, you can just catch this, rewind it, or if you get a spare moment at work, it'll be available after we are no longer live, so you can kind of just fast forward through whatever you need.
Yeah.
Go through it right quick.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube. That's where it's easiest to get the the replayed version of it, I should say.
Yeah.
All right.
On Twitter. You get the reading versions.
Yes.
Bettergreen.com. Follow us on Twitter. You get that. Yeah, there you go. Bettergreen.com. A lot of the articles, especially the waiver stuff, is there. So
I was gonna say, just send us out of here, Bobby. You got it. You're already doing the plugs, man. That's it. Go to bettergreen.com, man. BETTOR green.com. New weekly recap. Main weekly recap is out now also. So make sure you guys check that out. We will see you guys. Me and Bobby will be together for Tapping Vegas on Friday, and me, Ethan, and Wyatt will be together for Intentional Lounging, breaking down the Thursday night game on Thursday. We'll see you guys then. Peace, guys.
peace.